Welcome to Beginner's Guide. In today's tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to create an weather application using Simple JavaScript. The weather application that we are going to create is this one. It's going to display us 5 days weather forecast for a given city. In this example, the given city is Tokyo, so this is a weather forecast for the next 5 days for this particular city. In case if you want to find out the weather forecast for the London, just type London, click this button here. So this is a weather forecast for the London city for the next 5 days. So this is what we are going to be designing in this tutorial. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe the channel. In case if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Now, without further ado, let's get started. I have a folder in my desktop name called Weather App. I have an image file together with the HTML, CSS and the JavaScript. Let me open this one with my text editor. So here is an HTML, here is an CSS, here is a main.js. So in my HTML, what I have done, I just linked my style.css file and then the JavaScript file. Now let us start with the HTML part. As you can see them here in the actual design, there is a heading and then input field. There is a button and this label here. So we are going to design this part with the help of HTML. So what I'm going to do, initially I'm just going to create a h1 tag. The h1 I'm just going to say 5 days weather forecast. So let me give an ID for this h1. Let me call this one as a para1. Then again I'm going to create a paragraph tag. Let me give an ID for this paragraph. I'm going to call this one as an input container. Within this paragraph, I'm just going to label them as city. After that, I'm going to have the input box where I can get the input from the user. I'm just going to give the ID for this input box. Let me call this one as a city input. The next one, I'm just going to create a simple button saying click me. Followed by, I'm just going to create another heading. Let me call this one as a h2. I'm going to give an ID. I'm going to call this one as a city name. Here what I can say initially I would say is London, right? So what I want to do now, I want to display this information into the center of my page. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a tag name called center, and then within this center tag I want to put everything so that the information will be displayed in the center of the web page. Let me save and open with my browser so that you will see how does this one would look like. You can see them here, the details are in the center of the web page. Then the next thing, what I am going to do, I'm just going to create a div with an ID name called, let me call this one as a weather container. Within this div, I'm going to create another div with an ID name called icons container. So within this icons containers, I'm going to have the icons for my weather application. So let me create the class with icons. So here I'm going to create another paragraph tag. Let me just give the class name. I can call this one as a weather. And then let me give ID for the same. The ID I can say maybe day 1, right? Then followed by I'm just going to have a div with a class name called image. So within this div I'm going to have the images. So what I'm trying to do here is this part here. I'm just trying to create these icons with a container. So here I need to have an image, so I'm just going to use the image tag. I have an image in my folder. I'm sure that you have noticed the file that I have them is dots.png. So I'm going to give the class name for this image. So let me give the class as image class. All these things that I'm using them here for just for the purpose of styling them. And then let me give the ID for the same image. So I can say img1. Then followed by I need to display the minimum and maximum temperature, right? So for that I'm going to create another 2 paragraph tag. So this paragraph tag is going to display the minimum temperature. Another one is going to display the maximum temperature. So let me give the class name for this paragraph tag. Let me call this one as a min values for the minimum temperature. Then I want to give an ID. Let me call this one as day 1 min. Initially I don't have a minimum and maximum temperature, so by the time when my page loads I just want to call this one as an loading maybe. Let me just copy and paste for the max ones. So this one I'm going to call as max values, because each container has got minimum and maximum temperature. So even this one is also going to be called as loading. Let me save and refresh so that you will see how does this one would look like. We have seen there is 3 images. Actually this is a container. What we have managed to create now is this one container. So we have to create another 4 container because our intention is to display 5 days weather forecast. So what I'm going to do, simply I'm just going to copy and paste this part 5 times for us to create 5 of those containers. I'm just going to change the names here. Wherever there is a day 1, I'm going to change them to day 2. Image 1 will be an image 2. This one is 2. This one is also 2. Let me do the same for the rest of the container. Okay, now what we are remaining with is the design part, the style sheet part. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to type the CSS because of the time. The assumption is you know how to design this part. In case if you don't know, what I can do, I have already prepared the CSS. Let me go and paste this one into my project. I will just scroll through in case if you want to follow what I have done. Maybe let me just scroll through so that you can pause the video and type them out. So this is my CSS. Let me save and refresh my browser so that you will see how does this one would look like. You can see exactly like the way that I have applied them here, right? Only thing that I can't see the actual weather images as well as the days here. That one we are going to do it with the help of JavaScript. I hope as for now everything is clear. Now I want you to observe one thing. So according to our design, what we are trying to do, every time when I enter something in this input box and I have to click on this button. So let's say when I enter Tokyo here, when I click on this button, the first thing that I want to see them here is this London has to be changed as Tokyo. The next thing, I want to display the dates here, and then here I want to display the minimum temperature, maximum temperature for each of these containers together with the icons. Right, so this is what we are going to be doing. So to create these weather applications, we need to depend on an API. So here in this case, we are going to make use of Open Weather Map website to get the actual data. So go to the openweathermap.org. So here, if you have an account, you're okay. If you don't have an account, you have to create one. For example, me, I already have an account. In order to create an account, it's not like a big thing where you need to enter the credit card details. Just an email address is enough. So what you can do, let me just sign out so that I can show you. Go here, click there, create an account. Here enter your username, whatever the name that you want. Enter your email address, create a password, re-enter the password, then check these 2 boxes like I'm 16 years old and over, and then click I agree with that. Next thing is you're just going to down there, just check you're not a robot, create an account. Then they will send you a confirmation link to your email address. Go and click the confirmation button so that you will be redirected again to this website. So by that time you will be already signed in. Now let me sign in because I have an account. After you confirm from your email, you will be redirected to this page. So here all you need to do is go to your account here, go to my API keys. So here is a place where you're going to create an API key. This API key is nothing but it's like a password for you to access the weather details from this Open Weather Map website. So here all you need to do is type the name that you want. Let's say I want weather API key. Then click generate. API key was created successfully. When you come down, because I have already created a lot of keys, no wonder that there are a lot of keys there. So this is a one that I have created recently, right? So all you need to do is, first thing you have to go to this API. So here they have given us plenty of options to create a weather application. If you want to create a weather application for the current day, for example, if I want to create a weather application for today, I can use this one. Go to the API document. This API document is very important. I really want you to read through. For example, there are different links. So if you want to create an weather application for today based on the city name, you can use this link. If you want to create a weather application based on city name and the state code, you can use this one. Now what we are trying to do, we are not going to create a weather application just for today. We are going to create a weather application for the next 5 days. So for that, all you need to do is just scroll down. So this is the one that we need, 5-day weather focus. So go to this API document, come down here. So this is how we are going to call the API. So in order to call the API, there is different ways. You can use the first way where you can just enter the city name together with an API key, or you can enter the city name, state code together with the API key. Let's say I'm going to use the first link to call the API. I'm going to copy this one. Let me go here to the URL. Just paste them here. So for this, you need two parameters. First one is the city name. So in this place, let me remove this part. So let's say I'm going to type the city name as London. And then here, I need to pass the API key. Where is the API key? I hope you remember the one that we have generated. You need to copy and paste that key here so that we can able to get the weather details for the city London, because here we have passed the city name as London. So when you pass the API key here, it's going to display as the weather forecast for the city London, right? So let me go here again. I'm going to my API keys. The one that I have generated now is this one. So let me copy this one. This is what I have generated. Copy, come here. So here is the place where we need to pass the API key. Just pass them here, hit enter. It says invalid API key. When you see this invalid API key, it's not necessarily you have entered and wrong details. Usually they will take 30 minutes to an hour time to process your API key. After an hour time maximum, you come and check, you find that you were able to see the weather details for the given city that you have entered them here. So wait for 30 minutes to an hour time so that we will see whether this key is working or not. Okay, I think it's more than 45 minutes now. Let me check whether if this thing is working. Alright, now it is working. I'm sure that my API key is being activated. But here you can see a nicely formatted JSON string. But if you do the same, you won't see like this, because you will see something like a text file. For me to make something prettier like this, I have used a Chrome extension called Json Viewer. Let me show you. Json Viewer for Chrome. This is an extension. When you install that extension, you can able to see the prettier format of JSON like this. Otherwise, you're just going to see a complete text file. You don't even understand what is there. So I really recommend you to install this Json Viewer for Chrome extension so that you will see the formatted JSON view like this. Now, if you can notice one thing, there is a list. So this is a main. So it's saying temperature, then minimum temperature, maximum temperature, then it's going to have the details about the weather. When you just scroll down, you will see description is light rain, icon is this 10D. Then when you come down, it's going to be cloudy, wind speed, visibility, and then there is a lot of details. Again, there is another list, main, there is a temperature, because remember the API that we are using them is for 5 days. So it's going to give us the main, like minimum temperature, maximum temperature for 5 days, even the wind speed, the icons, as you can see them here, the description. This is for the next days, right? So this is what we are going to be using. Now our API link is working. So this is a link that we are going to be using. So now in my JavaScript, I'm going to create a function name called getInfo. So this getInfo function, I'm going to create a variable name called, let me call this one as a new name. So this new name variable, what is going to do is going to collect the data from the input field. So I'm going to use document.getElementById method. So where are we going to get the input from? The input box. So you have to pass the ID for that input field that you have created. That one is city input. That is the ID for the input box. Then I'm going to create another variable name called city name. So this city name, I'm going to get the document.getElementById method. So I'm going to target the ID name called city name. What do I mean to say city name? So this city input is the ID for the input box. So whatever the user enters the details in that input box, I wanted to collect. And then from there, I said city name. So what is the city name here? This ID. Initially is going to be displayed as London, but as soon as when I enter the details here as Tokyo, this one has to be changed to Tokyo. I hope you understand, right? The next thing is I'm just going to use this city name dot inner HTML. I want to display them in the inner HTML equals, let me say with 2 dashes, and then whatever the values that the user enter into the new name field, I want to display them there. I hope you understood, right? So now I have a function name called getInfo. I need to call this function. So where am I going to call this function? When I click on this button, I want to call that getInfo function. I hope you understood. Now the next thing is we need to get the weather details from the API. So in order to get that one, I'm going to use the JavaScript promises. So I'm going to use the fetch method. Within this fetch method, I have to pass this link that I have used them here together with the name of the city and the API key. Let me just copy and then paste them here. Right, so here inside, what I'm going to do, everything is there. So here I have passed the city name as London. So what does that mean? When you pass the city name as London, you can only able to get the weather details for the city London. But here we want to get the weather details for the city, whatever the user entered into that particular input field, right? So in order to get the weather details for the city that was entered by the user, instead of using the city name as London, so where are you going to get the input from? You are going to get the input from this input field, right? So that one is stored into this particular variable. So whatever the values that the user entered into this text box, I want to generate the weather application. So for that, the queue, instead of entering the city name as a London, so here you are going to pass the name of the variable dot value. I hope everything is clear as for now, right? So the next thing is, since it's a promise, then I'm going to use dot then method. So this dot then method is going to take the response. So that response is going to be response.json, and then dot then. This is a JavaScript promise, I hope you know. Then it's going to return the data. So this data here, first what we need to do, we need to get the minimum and maximum temperature. If you can notice one thing, like initially in the actual design, we have to display the minimum and maximum temperature for the 5 days, not only for 1 day. We have to display the minimum and maximum temperature for the 5 days. For that, what I'm going to do, let me just use the for loop to get the minimum and maximum temperature for 5 days. So within this for loop, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use document.getElement by ID. Within this ID, what do you want to display? Initially, I want to display the minimum temperature, right? For the day, each day. So the first ID is day. Then you want to display the temperature for each day. So I plus 1. And then which ID? I would say this one is a minimum. So what does that mean? Each day I'm going to display the minimum temperature. Each time the I value is going to be incremented by 1. This detail, I want to display them in the HTML part. So how are we going to get the minimum temperature? Where are you going to get the minimum temperature from? Let's say here I'm going to use number as a data type. So this number data type, I want to display the minimum temperature for that given city. So for that, what you need to do, you go to your browser, the link that we have used them here. So you can see there is a temperature min and there is a temperature max. So this temperature min and temperature max is part of the object called main. So this main is a part of this list object. So this list is an array of object. So this main is an object. Within this main, there is a temperature min, right? So if you want to access the data of this minimum temperature, you have to refer through the min. So this min is part of the list. I hope you understand, right? Now, in order to get that minimum temperature, what do I need to do? So this is a data that I'm looking for. So just say data dot, where is that minimum temperature is part of an array name called list. In that list, I have to go to the first list because there is a lot of lists. If you want to go to the first list, you can use I. Then from that list, there is an object name called main. In that object, you have seen temp.min, isn't it so? So there is a list, there is a main, This is temp underscore min. So initially the value is 288.53. So I'm just going to subtract with 288.53. Right? I hope you have understood. Now, for example, if you want to display only one digit after the decimal, as long as you have used number as a data type, so there is a method that can be used. I hope you know, right? So what is a method that can be used in the number method? ToFixed is a method that can be used. So I'm going to make use of that ToFixed method. I'm just going to say dot ToFixed. I'm just going to pass 1 as a parameter, meaning we can have only one digit after the dot, then plus. I want to display them as a degree. So for that, I'm just going to use the degree symbol. So where am I going to get the degree symbol? Let me go there. Let me come here. So this is a degree symbol. Let me copy this one. Right? I hope things are clear. Now, this one is going to display the minimum temperature for 5 days. What about the maximum temperature? Same. Just copy, paste them here. Instead of min, change this one as a max. Even this one is going to be a max. Here inside, instead of temp min, we are going to display the max. That's it. Now we can able to display the minimum and maximum temperature. What is remaining? We need to display the icons, right? Each day has got the different icons based on the weather condition. Again, these icons are also, we are going to display them for the 5 days. So even for that one, I'm just going to make use of the for loop. Let me use the for loop. The same format. So here I'm going to use document dot get element by id. So where am I going to get the image from? So here for every container I need to have an image. That's the reason why I+1 dot source. So here we are going to get the icons from the open weather map API. For that, what you need to do, just go here, maybe openweathermap.org. Here just head over to the weather condition. Okay, when you open this first one, weather conditions, you are going to be redirected to this place. If you can notice one thing, here it says icon. This is a code for the icon. So if you come down there, they have used an URL in case if you want to use the icons. http openweathermap.org imgwn. This 10D is the name of the image. This 2x is a size, like 2 times I'm going to increase. So the 10D is, we are going to get an image of this type, right? So if you go to our JSON file, you can see them here. When you come down here, icon says that 10D. So we are going to get a similar icon like this. So if you get an icon saying 4D, so the icon is going to be like this format. So as long as we have got an icon as 10D, this one is coming from the open weather map. So we are going to get an icon similar to this one. So in order to access these icons, what you need to do, just go and copy this link up to this part, remove that 10D. I will show you why. Come here. So just say source equals, then pass that link. Now we are not going to access that one icon from that website. We need to loop through for 5 times, right? So in order to loop through for 5 times, what I'm going to do, I want to access the icons from that site, right? Then that icon I want to concatenate with the data dot list, just like the way that I've said. Where is the icon now? Go to your browser. Let me show you. The icon is here, right? This icon is part of the weather object. This weather object is part of the list array, right? So I have to go the data dot list of I. I means there is a lot of list here. It will go through the 0th I, meaning the first I. Then we need to go to the weather. Then from there we are going to access this icon. So for that I'm going to say list of I dot, I'm going to say weather of 0. This is what I want to find out. Then from there I want to find out the icon from the weather, right? So this one, maybe let's say I want to have this one as a .png format. This is like an image format. I hope everything is clear. Now we have managed to find out the minimum temperature, maximum temperature, and icons for each container. So now we need to find out the days for us to know the weather application. For that, I'm sure that in JavaScript you know there is a default function name called date function. If you want to get a particular hour, you can use get hour method. If you want to know the day, you can use get day method. And then before I go there, since it's a promise, if the promise is fulfilled, this thing is going to be displayed. In case if there is any error, we are going to use the catch method. This catch method is going to display the error. Let's say I just want to say the alert message saying something went wrong. This is a promise, right? In case if these things fail to execute, we are just going to catch the error, then this information will be displayed, right? So let me just close this part. I'm sure that the one that I opened them here, all these things, they are within the function, right? I hope everything is clear. So now we need to display the different days. For that, I'm just going to make use of the JavaScript inbuilt function name called new date, and then let me create an array of days. So in this array, I'm going to have the days. So this array has got every days in a week. So 0th index is a Sunday, meaning 0th day is a Sunday. 6th day in a week is a Saturday. Now I'm going to create a function to get the correct integer for the index of the days of this particular array. For that, what I'm going to do, let me create a function. I can call this function as a check day. So I'm going to pass day as a parameter. So within this function, I'm just going to use if condition. If that given day is t.getDay, if it is greater than 6, I just want to return the day as t.getDay -7. Otherwise, in the else part, what we are going to return them is, let us say day plus t.getDay. So this getDay is a JavaScript function, I'm sure that you know, is going to return the current day. For example, today is a Friday, so when you use getDay, is going to return a Friday, right? Again, we have to display the date for a week, not just for a day. So let's say we want to display 5 days. For that, again I'm going to use the for loop. So inside this one, I'm just going to say document dot get element by ID. Inside I want to display the day, plus here I'm just going to say every day dot inner HTML. This is what I want to display. So what I want to display them here is this weekday. Then I'm just going to use the check day function of I think as for now we have managed to create everything. Like we have managed to create these containers, icons, minimum and maximum temperatures. We have managed to create a function to display the dates. Another one more thing is when as you can see them in the actual design, when I load the page, by default there is a city name is there, and then this one is already there by default, right? So meaning when the form is loaded, the input field is filled with these details. So for that, what I can do, I can go to my HTML. In the body, I'm going to use an event as onLoad. When my form is load, I'm going to call this function. Let me call this function as a default screen. Let me copy this default screen function. Let me go to my main.js. Maybe before this date function, maybe after the catch, let me create the function default screen. This default screen is going to give us the default message by the time when we load our browser. So this one is going to display document get element by ID. So whatever the name that we have them in the city input, that is going to be the default value. Initially, let's say by default I want them to display as London, and then from there I need to call this get info function, so that based on the user, whatever the city name that they enters is going to display that details. I hope it's clear. It's like a default. By default the screen is London. That is what we are trying to do. But after that, if the user enters Tokyo, this field is going to be changed as Tokyo. Okay, now it's okay. So by default, as you can see them here, there is a London. But in case if I change this one to Mumbai, when I click this one, it's going to be Mumbai, and it's going to display the weather forecast for the city Mumbai for the next 5 days. So this is how you can create a weather application for the 5 days using Simple JavaScript. I hope you have understood everything. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and share with your friends. And if you have not subscribed the channel yet, please do subscribe. Thank you.